Hi, ladies. It's Monique with Boundaries for Women, and I'm here to remind you that you're worthy of love and respect. And I say that at the beginning of every video now or I try to remember to, because it's the reason I started the Facebook page and started making videos, just because I know that at the core of having boundary challenges, let's say, is just something in us that doesn't believe that we're really worthy of being treated right and being treated well. So that's why I say that. So I had recently posted a meme that said, "Believe that your greatest weakness can become your greatest strength." And someone asked the question, "What was my greatest weakness?" Which I thought it was clear from having a boundaries page, but maybe I should elaborate. Maybe that's what the question is asking. Um, so yeah, I mean, gosh, let's pick any weakness, but we'll just go with this one. So one of the weaknesses is or was that I used to think that being kind uh, didn't include myself. It didn't include me being kind to myself. Not that I thought that I should be. I didn't outwardly think I should be treated badly, but I seemed to think that everybody else's needs, wants, everything about everybody else's lives was infinitely more important than mine, which is really strange because I actually always had a really strong sense of purpose about the things I do in this world, because I'm also an artist and a writer and an actor and musician and all this stuff. And but I would allow myself to put aside things as if they weren't as important in order to meet other people's needs. Now, there's a fine line there, right? Because we also don't want to be completely selfish and be like, I'm only ever going to think about myself. But the other extreme of that is I'm going to always put everybody else before myself, to the point where now, again, there is something about laying our lives down for others, and people like living a life of service to others. But where the issue was being willing to allow myself to be treated poorly, tolerating things that I wouldn't tolerate watching someone do to another person. I wouldn't tolerate from myself doing to another person, but somehow I tolerated being mistreated, myself being mistreated. And that was my greatest weakness. And it's what led me to be in back to back abusive relationships. And at the time, I didn't know. Of course, I had, this is the beauty of educating ourselves on just psychology and different things that are now so prevalent that you can learn about. I mean, with the internet, it's like anything you want to know, you can find out. But yeah, so, and it can come from a lot of different things, right? And I could do video after video on this topic on what leads to feeling that we don't deserve to be treated as well as everybody else. But the bottom line is that was a huge weakness for me, and I think sometimes we have strengths. There are things that we're really strong in that somehow get turned into a weakness. I don't know if you know what I mean, but so for example, I would say one of my strengths is I have staying power. Like I'm very faithful, very loyal, and I will, stick with people. And, if people are going through something very hard, if it goes on years, I will be that person that's still there when they come out the other end. Where that becomes a problem is when the hard thing that someone else is going through is destructive to you. meaning if they have a personality disorder or they have a mental illness or they have an addiction, where you put aside your own life for their stuff. And that's where the difference is. So when you're serving out of a place of, freedom, and there's freedom to do so or not do so, you know the difference because you feel alive when you're serving, when you're doing true serving other human beings and serving the world. But when you're doing things out of a place of obligation or fear or guilt or any of that stuff, which is almost par for the course if you're dealing with someone in a narcissistic abuse situation, then then that's going to be part of the equation. So for me, what was my greatest weakness was being, immersed in those kinds of relationships, especially the last one. I mean, actually, both of them I feel like really almost killed me physically. I mean, the crazy part is they never laid a hand on me to harm me physically. It was all psychological. And that's why I always want to remind people that just because it's not physical doesn't mean it's not harmful, doesn't mean it's not just as toxic. So, but what's amazing is that we can take the very thing that almost destroyed us and we can actually turn it into strength. And we can actually absorb these things that we've been through and let them come out in another way, where that thing now is actually the thing, the way you operate in the world has made you strong. And so that's why, I feel that I am actually grateful now for what I went through, even though it just about killed me. I am grateful for it, and when I was in it, I never could have imagined I'd ever feel grateful for that. But there's that quote, I love this quote that says, someone I loved gave me a box full of darkness, and I learned that this too is a gift. And I just started thinking in terms of how can I mine this for the gift in it, what can I take from this? And I just started learning. I got the support I needed. I had an amazing counselor. I did whatever I needed to do in order to get my life back, because I was like, I have things I need to do in this world, and I refuse to let another human being keep me from them. And so what ended up happening is that I started fighting for myself. I started fighting for my own life. And I started doing whatever I needed to do. And I'm not saying it was easy. I didn't suddenly I'm really good at boundaries. It was a long process, but it's like you have to start somewhere. But it took me quite some time to start implementing these things. And I got stronger as I kept implementing them. And as I realized that just because someone is mad at me doesn't mean I did something wrong. It usually meant I actually did something right for myself. And that I wasn't responsible for other people's, how they handle me taking care of myself. And if they're angry or jealous or whatever weird stuff goes with all this stuff, I just started to realize that that's your stuff and I'm going to deal with me right now. So I became really strong in the very thing that was that was where I was weakest. And saying no and people pleasing and not wanting to say anything to upset someone, that whole thing. And again, there may still be residue of that, and I don't think anybody ever gets oh, they never have a moment, I mean, I still have moments where I'm tempted to give in to other people's wants or whatever, and I just have to always ask myself, is this what I really want, or is this what I'm feeling pressured to do or say or be? And the amazing thing is that we actually have the potential to help other people. When other people in our lives see how strong we're becoming in an area, it may strengthen them to go, oh wow, she used to be like that and now she's like this, so maybe I can change too. And that was really where it all came down to, is realizing that the work that needed to happen was in me first. I cannot change anybody else. I can't sit around waiting for someone to change, but I can only do what I need to do to take care of me and to make sure I'm okay and that I can live and thrive in this world. And that's what happened. And I finally was given, I thank God that I was given the strength to finally be done with the last, and I'm saying it is the last toxic relationship with a person that I'm just like, I'm done with that, and I never went back, and I never had any more contact, and I just did it, but it took a long process to get there. So that's a bit about, my story in terms of my greatest weakness becoming my greatest strength. Now I have like a radar for narcissistic behavior or somebody that could potentially be toxic, and I just stay away from it. And it's really interesting because this thing about how we attract certain things into our lives, it's really interesting because those kind of situations don't really come up anymore. Where sort of even after I had left the abusive situation, I would notice there would still be certain kinds of people that would pop up in my life, not even romantic situations, just situations like people at church or somebody on the train or something like that. And I was like, why is that? Like, what is it that I'm giving off that is making someone still think that they can just step into my space like that or kind of encroach on my time? And so I still had, I knew that I still had work to do. But now I don't, I just feel like I'm like almost like a repellent to people like that because I don't come across as someone who is going to engage in that way. So anyways, I hope this is helpful. If you have any other questions, I mean, I'll tell you more about my story as we go, but I just wanted to answer that question because someone had asked, and hope that helps. Hope that's given you some answer to that question. And yeah, so I love you, ladies, and I'm really glad you're here, and I thank you for watching, and I thank you for following the Facebook page and watching the videos. So okay, lots of love. Bye.